Hey guys, today we are going to discuss this problem. Its rating is also 1800. And let's take a look at the example here. So the first number is how many test cases are we going to have for this problem. So in this case, there are just one test cases. And the second row of array is this. The first number is n. That means how many problems are there in our in the exam, and the t is the maximum time for the exam, and a is the time to solve a easy problem. So for example, this problem is an easy problem, um, and this one is hard problem, right? So it takes 2 seconds to solve the easy problem, and it takes 3 seconds to solve the hard problem. And the following two arrays is the values of the problem. So we are going to have two problems, right? And the first array is the type of this problem. If it is 1, it is a hard problem. If it is 0, it is a easy problem. The second array is the time when the problem becomes mandatory. So for the first problem, at the third second, it becomes mandatory. And for the second problem, it becomes mandatory at the second, right? And we are going to calculate what is the maximal point we can get from the exam. So if we can solve one problem, we can get 1 point. So the point depends on how many problems we solved, right? And this is the example. So if you can leave the exam at any point, you can choose any second to leave the exam, right? If you leave at second 0, that means you don't do the exam at all, and you will receive 0 points since you don't have solved any problems, right? And if he leaves at 1, still 0 points, because to solve the easy problem, it at least take 2 seconds, right? If he leaves at s equal to 2, leaves at 2, then he can get 1 point by solving the easy problem, which is the second problem, right? And if he leaves at 3, then 0 points, because the the third second, the hard problem become mandatory. You have to solve this problem. So even though you can solve the first one, you can't get any points because you didn't solve all of the mandatory problems. So he can receive 0 points. Also at the fourth second, he receives 0 points because the mandatory problem still cannot be solved, right? Until at the fifth second, he can get 2 points because he has enough time to solve both of them. Because he got a 5 seconds, and he can solve the easy problem and also solve the hard problem, right? So the optimal answer is 2. If he wait until the 5th second, he can solve 2 problems, right? So how are we going to solve this problem? One misinterpretation of this problem is that can we um, use time as long as possible, because the maximum time here is 5. So we can just use the maximum time and solve problems as many as possible. No, that's not the necessary the optimal answer, because if you choose the maximum time, you may have some more mandatory problems that you cannot solve in this time range, right? That means you can get 0 points in that case. So the maximum time is not necessarily the optimal choice. So how can we solve this problem? So we um, we can first we can sort all those um, all these problems in by their time becoming mandatory, right? In this case, we are going to sort it in this way, right? So at time 2, the easy problem become mandatory. At time 3, the hard problem become mandatory, right? So that we can just iterate all those problems from left to right. So first, we can keep count of the total number of problems. We can have 2 totals. The first one is the number of total easy problems, and the second is the total number of hard problems, right? And we are going to keep the counter of current mandatory problems. So also the mandatory problem for the easy problems and the mandatory problems for the hard problems, right? So we are going to iterate the time from left to right, which means we can start from checking time 1. So at the time 1, there is 0 mandatory easy problems, right? And there is 0 mandatory hard problems. So at this point, we can just solve any problem we have left, right? So the way we use the time to solve the problem is, first, we're going to use it to solve the mandatory problems, right? So we have, let's say we have one time, and first we are going to use this time to solve the mandatory easy, and then we are going to use it to solve mandatory 1. If we don't have enough time to solve these 2 kinds of problems, that means we are going to have 0 point, right? And if there is still time left, we can use the rest of the time to solve rest of the problems, which is total easy problem minus uh, minus mandatory easy problems, because let's say we have X time left, we need to solve the easy problem first, because for both easy and hard problem, we can get 1 point from it. But the easy problem will cost lesser times. So we are going to solve those easy problems first. And then we are going to solve the hard problem, right? So in this way, we can make sure that we make a full use of the time we got. And also, we can make sure that we solve all those mandatory problems, right? So let's use this algorithm. So first, we are going to try time 1, right? So for time 1, because there is no mandatory problems so far, and then so we don't have to spend time on solving mandatory problems, and we are going to solve the rest easy problems, which we have 1 easy problem, but we find out that we don't have enough time to solve this problem, so we just skip it. And so as for the hard problem, we don't have enough time to solve it, so we just skip it. And let's try another time. Let's move the timer to the right by 1 step, which is 2. So let's try time 2. So we use time at this point. We have 1 mandatory easy problem. So we are going to use this 2 seconds to solve this one, right? And we are going to have 0 second left. So because the hard mandatory problem counter is 0, so in this case, we can make sure that all of those mandatory problems are solved. And we can skip the next 2 steps because we already don't have time left. So the point we can get is 1, right? And let's move on. Let's move the timer to the right by 1 again. So we are at time 3. So we are going to have 2 mandatory problems. One is easy, one is hard, right? And we are going to solve the easy one first, and we are going to deduct 2 seconds from the total time. And we have 1 second left. But to solve the next mandatory problem, we have to spend 3 seconds. So that's not gonna happen because we don't have enough time. So we just skip this time, right? And so as the time 4, we can solve the first mandatory problem, but we cannot solve the second mandatory problem. So we are going to get a 0 point for this time. And let's try time 5, right? So we can solve the first easy problem, and we have 3 seconds left. So that we can use this 3 seconds to solve the hard problem. And we got 0 problems left. And we got excuse me, we got zero time left, and we got zero problems left. So the total point is 2, right? And we can just output the answer. So I guess that's it. That's how we solve this problem. And let's take a look at the code. Let's zoom in a bit. So this is our code. So first, we are going to read the number of test cases, and we iterate each test case. And then we're going to read all those 4 numbers. And then we're going to read the uh, types of the problem and keep the total counter, right? And we got 2 counters to keep the count of the 2 different types, right? Then we are going to read the time when the problem become mandatory, and we are going to uh, push the pair into an array so that we can sort the array in the next step, right? So we are going to insert a placeholder here so that because each time we move the timer to the next one, we are going to just move to the uh, next time point where another problem become mandatory. Because if we have a problem become mandatory at time 1 and another problem become mandatory at time 10, there is no reason we iterate through the let's say time 5, because for time 5 and time 9, time 9 is obviously the better answer here, right? Because if we choose time 9, we can have 4 more seconds to spend on the problems, but we won't have any more mandatory problems here, right? So obviously 9 is a better answer than 5 in this case. So we just need to iterate through all those problems times, right? And here is where we iterate all those problems. And this guy is where we keep the point we are going to have for the time we choose, right? And the rest here is the time we are going we still have, right? So the initial rest of time is the time when the problem become mandatory and -1, right? And we are going to solve the mandatory easy problem first, and we are going to add the points and also deduct the time cost from our time, and we are going to solve the hard mandatory problems, and then we are going to solve the easy problems that are still left, right? And we are going to solve the hard problems that are still left. And then we are going to check if the rest is bigger than 0. That means if we can solve all those mandatory problems, right? If we cannot solve all those mandatory problems, we are going to have 0 points, right? But if we can, that means we can update our answer. And we are going to just make sure we add the current mandatory problem into our counter, right? And in the end, we are going to output the optimal answer. So I guess that's it. So thank you for watching. See you next time.